Welcome to the Grindhouse. It's technically day 2 of Horror Fest, so I'm going to go over a few things. First movie I ended up watching, the movie I'm reviewing now, is Black Sabbath. Boris Karloff headlines. A pretty impressive cast. Mark Damon, who later went on to produce several films after doing the acting thing for a while. Basically, you only see Karloff in one story, though. It's 3 stories. There's 3 short stories. The first one is called The Telephone, a tale of lesbian obsession and revenge, where this woman is being harassed by who she thinks was, I believe it was supposed to be an ex-lover who went to prison and escaped from prison and wants to kill her. And then, of course, there's a twist ending to that, which you'd have to see the film because I don't want to give away too many spoilers. The second one is the Woodalock. Woodalock? Anyway, it's a vampiric creature that feasts on the blood of those it loves, like family members. And that's the part where Karloff ends up as the next Woodalock. And it's a good, I mean, if you're a fan of Karloff, it's going to be a good movie, pretty much. He was great in Frankenstein, of course, and that goes without saying. And he plays like a Russian father who has like 2 daughters and a son-in-law and a grandson. And the son-in-law, I think, was a count of some sort. I can't remember his name. But basically, Karloff comes back because they were worried the Woodalock had gotten him. And of course it did. And he abducts the grandson, and there's like a chase scene there. And of course, it's down to Mark Damon and one of the daughters. And yeah, it's a pretty chilling little story in a way. It's very, if you've seen any of Mario Bava's films, a lot of color in those films, number 1. Number 2, not a super gory film, but had its moments. Still a decent movie. And the third story was, of course, called A Drop of Water. And it's this woman, I guess she's like a caretaker or something, and she's like, this countess dies, and the woman goes and she takes a ring off her finger, basically. And from there on, she is like being haunted by drops of water everywhere, like coming from the sink, the bathtub, and everything. And she keeps hearing this housefly, and the housefly sort of drives her nuts. And then, of course, she's basically seeing the countess rise from her bed, already dead, coming at her. Decent stories. Pretty much your, standard anthology horror film. But it predated like Tales from the Crypt, Creepshow, Tales from the Dark Side, and all those different films. It's pretty much probably was the original, one of the very original horror anthologies. Still a very good film. Let's see. The next movie I ended up watching was Planet Terror. For those of you that haven't seen it, get it. It's a good film. Robert Rodriguez directs it, and it's got a really good cast. And of course, Rose McGowan, and she ends up losing her leg to a bunch of zombies that are the result of a government experiment. And so she has like a machine gun for her leg. And of course, it's very over the top, gratuitous violence. A little nudity, nothing, more violence than nudity. But still, probably one of, I would say, Rodriguez's best film. I mean, this probably even just overshadows Machete by just a little bit. So that's one half of the Grindhouse films. Of course, the other half being Tarantino's Death Proof, which I will probably see. I don't know if I'm going to see it during Horror Fest or not. We'll see. Anyway, I'll be reviewing day 2 tomorrow, which will technically be day 3. Unless I decide to review more of it tonight. Anyway, this has been the Grindhouse. Until next time, fare thee well. Oh, and if you get a chance, I'm also on Twitter.